I'm Pat Miller, and this is the Professional Photographer Podcast. Wedding photographers, listen up, because an expert is coming on the show today to tell you what you need to know so you can make more money and enjoy taking photos at your next wedding. Terri Baskin is on the show today, and we'll talk about client selection and red flags. We'll talk about setting expectations and holding people accountable. We'll talk about being a part of the wedding machine and how do you navigate all those people hanging around the ceremonies and the reception. And how do you surprise and delight the bride and groom? And how do you just have more fun taking these pictures? Terri's got all of that and more standing by. We'll talk to her next. Terri, welcome to the Professional Photographer Podcast. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I am great. I'm excited to talk with you in the thick of wedding season. We get to talk all about weddings, which is so cool. But before we get into all that, if someone has not had the pleasure of meeting you yet, tell them who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I am Terri Baskin. I am a Virginia-based photographer. I am an international wedding photographer. Work primarily in the DC market. And I'm just excited. Like I am in the thick of wedding season. And so what that means right now is a lot of clients are just waiting for photos. We've done the session, we've done the event, and now they're just patiently waiting. They've seen some sneak peek images, so they're excited and just plugging away through all of the editing now.
We're going to talk about how people can do weddings better, but I'm curious from your standpoint, why do you love them? Why do you love to shoot weddings?
Oh, gosh. I love to shoot weddings because, believe it or not, it's the organized chaos of it all. It's like despite what people may believe, every wedding day, at least for me, is different. So yes, you have like the ceremony and the reception and the things in between, but it's all of those dynamics when you involve people and personalities and places in DC, traffic, like all of the logistical things that go into a wedding day means that no one day is ever the same. And so I like the excitement of it all and the everything. But then to see the final product after all of the excitement that most people never understand has happened is what really excites me about it.
Well, you talked about the people and the personalities, and that leads into where we want to start. Absolutely. Finding the right clients for the weddings. Yes. So where do we find the right clients, and who are the right clients, and how important is it to pick the right clients? Because we do get a vote on who we work with. So Absolutely. How do you go about identifying the right clients to work with?
So identifying the right clients, just as you mentioned, Pat, is our vote to make sure that we aren't just working with everybody who wants to work with us. I feel like it's a two-way street, right? So as clients or potential clients are vetting their photographer should also vet the client just to make sure they're a good fit. And so as far as finding the right clients, I always tell my mentees and my peers that you have to identify what your red flags are that makes you not want to work with somebody, or even your green flags that makes you really, really excited to work with a potential client. So for me, I want to be so excited to work with them because I'm essentially spending an entire day with them and their family that I have to identify the right ones early on in the process. And that begins well before I pick up the camera to photograph their wedding day. So that starts for me with seeing their initial inquiry and then having a client consultation with them via Zoom and asking the right questions. So I want to understand if they are just checking the box, meaning they know they need a photographer, so they're just hiring the least expensive photographer that they can find, or if they are emotionally invested in their photography experience. So I want the latter. I want the client that truly wants a photographer because they know it's an emotional investment and it's going to the photos are going to last years and years after the wedding day. And I want to know that they trust me and that they trust my experience and that I can help navigate them to the best day through that organized chaos, through the best day as possible so that they get the images that they've seen in my portfolio.
Do you think that newer photographers have to go through a red flag family or two before they listen to their intuition and walk away? Or is it possible to do that the first time and never run into one of those problem families?
Gosh, if you can do it without ever running into a red flag family, then bless you. I I've learned the hard way on a lot of situations, but also it's those situations is are what helped me identify what my future red flags are. So, right. So, had I not been in certain situations or certain scenarios, I wouldn't know that that's something I didn't enjoy. So, yeah, I think most people, whether they realize it or not, will probably have a red flag client. And it's because they may not know something was as not as exciting as it should have been. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about client expectations. So we're interviewing the client. We haven't gone and done the wedding yet. How are clients in general about describing what they want out of the photographer? Do they know how to articulate it?
That's a great question. So what I find is, as far as clients being able to articulate what they want, is really, for me and my experience, has been driven by what they see on social media. So they see a lot of times, if they can't describe what they want in words, I ask them to show me images that they're really drawn to, and then I help educate them on what that is and then how to get those types of images. So if it's something that, usually for the most part, if they've come to me, they've seen my portfolio or my work somewhere that attracted them to me. And so I know what my style is now, but if they come to me showing me photos of, something that another photographer has done, if it's not something that I do, then I can help educate them and maybe refer them to someone that's a better fit. But yeah, usually they can describe it based on what they've already seen on social media, or I can help them describe it through the photos that they have saved on their phones.
That's a great tip. I want it to look like this. And then you can use your expertise to understand what they're saying, but they're not really saying, which is really valuable.
Or they can say what they don't want. A lot of people can tell you what they don't want if they can't tell you what they do want.
What about things that they want, but they never say? Are there expectations that contemporary brides and grooms have that they think just everyone knows, but they really need to say out loud to make sure that you capture?
That's a great question. So I think, because I ask so many questions to potential clients, and then when they become clients, I try and ask all of the things that they may not have thought of. And so just yesterday, I was having a client consultation with a potential client, and they're getting ready in one location. They're having their ceremony in another location. And then the reception is an hour away on a Friday. So getting around Washington, D.C. through rush hour traffic on a Friday means you will not be able to attend your cocktail hour because you're going to be taking photos and you're going to be traveling. So I think communicating and asking those questions, like as they are having them talk through their day and what they want, helps me educate them on the things that they may not have thought of or even known to ask.
What about the stakeholders in today's bridal situation? Is it the bride? Is it the mother? Is it the grandmother? Does it vary by client? Like, who's calling the shots when you're making the deal to do their wedding?
Absolutely. So nowadays, because weddings are an investment, and investing in photography means they may pull in other stakeholders, and it's usually a mom or a parent of either the bride or either one of them. And so no matter who's paying the bill, it's always my goal to have the relationship with the client and make sure the couple gets what they want. So even if sometimes I've seen where parents will pay the bill and they want to have say so in what the couple is getting as far as photography, but I want to keep that contract with the couple and I want to keep that communication with the couple, and then the payment can be done on the back end separately.
Let's fast forward to the day of the shoot, or it's more romantic to say the day of the wedding, the most important day of their life. All right, so we're there
Yes.
and you've got work to do. You've got a shoot list. You've got a thing. You've got to go get the shot. How hard is it for you to physically get through all of that work on a wedding day?
Oh gosh. So physically on a wedding day, I run on adrenaline. So there are many days I've gone the entire day without eating just because, again, if I'm working with the right client, I'm excited to work with them. And so I'm not even thinking about food, but I try and hydrate. And usually my recovery is where I realize how hard I've worked. So the day after the wedding, the dreaded like wedding hangover is what we call it. So I recover after the wedding, but physically, I prepare myself by just making sure I have the right tools that I need to get through the day, and then I'm able to dress professionally, yet comfortably, and that I understand all of the dynamics of the day. So I'll know, like, are we climbing stairs? Are we driving? Am I parking and walking far? Am I parking valet? It's all of those things that I'm taking into consideration. But I think because I've done this for so long, it's second nature to me. So like if I'm talking to somebody, I wouldn't even think to tell them some of those things, like, oh, make sure you're prepared to, if you're parking far, that you give yourself enough time so you're not running from one location to the next, right? So just, I think a lot of it, the short answer was probably just planning, making sure I plan properly, and then giving myself time.
Now it's just you and me talking here, not all of YouTube and PPA listening, because I do the same thing. I'll go through the
Okay.
entire day and not eat. And then I have a really bad habit, which actually is a great habit, to do a
Okay.
Taco Bell drive-through on the way home. Do you have a go-to clutch meal after a busy day?
After a busy day, no, I usually go straight home. Now on the day, I do, like at the reception, I'll usually like I guess it's called a Shirley Temple, but it's basically
Yeah.
ginger ale and like grenadine, like the cherries. So I like to mix this. So usually if they have a bar, I'll ask for a ginger ale with like the grenadine, the cherry juice, and I'll mix that. So that's really, I don't drink. So that's my way of treating myself. And then every once in a while, I will grab some wedding cake if there's an extra
Oh,
slice.
yeah.
So those are my treats after a hard day. But usually, I start to feel it on the way home that I just want to go home, back up my images, and shower and get in the bed.
Oh, that is so true. That collapse is fantastic.
It's, oh gosh, yes.
Let's talk about the day for one more second here, about
Sure.
how the families are behaving with you during the day. Have you run into families that just don't want to play ball? They're not cooperating with you in the shoot list. And how do you navigate that?
I I'm laughing because as soon as you ask that question about families cooperating, I immediately like start to think about different experiences. Actually, just recently, yeah. So I have. So one of the ways I navigate that is I send the couple a questionnaire before the wedding. So I want them to really think about what they want on their wedding day, and make them write it out. So that way, I'm really just working off of their wishes. So it's, who do you want to be in photos with? Like, list out every photo that I need to take for your family photos and put the names of those people on that list so that I can call them by name. Right? People love to hear whatever the quote is about people loving to hear the sound of their own name. I like that. And it also makes us feel like more of a relationship versus me just giving direction and telling them where to go and where to stand. But it also forces the couple to really think about, okay, we have this much time and we need to accomplish this many photos. I know I need to prioritize some things because, again, from past experiences, in the moment, trying to ask them to decide who's supposed to be in photos when they're in the middle of taking photos is a disaster.
Yeah.
They're already, I mean, they're excited, they're just married, everyone's congratulating them, there's so much going on that they can't think about that. And anybody that walks up who wants to be in a photo, you will throw the timeline completely off right? Because now it's a free for all. So I asked them to give me a list of all of their photos, and what has happened and what often happens is someone comes up and they say, "Well, I'm Aunt so and so, or I'm cousin so and so," and I just politely tell them, like, "Okay, I'm working off of a list. I'll take your photo during the reception or at another time." And usually, because my couple and I have had those conversations prior to the wedding day, I've had experiences where they will jump in and ask that family member to, step aside or just to wait. And if there's time, they will take that photo with them. But I love that having the relationship and doing as much work before the wedding day means that sometimes it's not even my battle to fight. The couple will handle it for me.
That is a really great idea. Now, wedding photographers steal that because you're not the bad guy then. It's
I'm
well, the
not the
list.
bad
I'm
guy.
doing the list. I got the list. I got to do the
This is
thing.
the list.
I'm curious, how do you physically carry the list? Do you do it in a notebook? Do you carry an iPad, a watch? How do you maintain the checking of the pictures during the day?
So, depending on how detailed they are on their questionnaire, I have some couples who are very, very detailed on what they want. And so, if it's a lot of names, I'll review it. But usually, I'll have it on my phone and have my phone nearby. And then, in some instances, my second photographer will also manage the list for me. So, I usually ask the couple to have somebody besides them two that knows each side of the family, or someone from each side of the family who knows the family well enough that if I'm calling out names and that person isn't there, they can either round that person up or they can say, "Oh, they're right here, they're right here." And they help me with that so that the bride or the groom or the couple, whoever the client is, isn't having to go off to look for that person.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
So
busy
it's, yeah,
enjoying their
usually on
day.
my phone. Sometimes I'll print it, but so it just depends. But yeah, either on my phone or print it.
Well, we're going to mine 1,000 more ideas from you in a second, but I want to stay on the wedding day. Uh,
Okay.
got any tips and tricks for just maintaining a good relationship with the couple themselves? Little things that you might be able to do to make them happy, to surprise and delight them that maybe they don't expect?
Yeah. So, well, surprise and delight. Gosh, I don't know. Maybe my personality. Hopefully,
Of
um,
course, of course.
but for the couple, it's so they're anxious, right? So when I arrive on the wedding day, I greet everyone. I introduce myself to everyone. I never want to assume that people know who I am, even though I may have a equipment on me. I want to introduce myself and try and learn names as much as possible. My second photographer thinks my memory is impeccable. She's like, everyone's name. That's literally like, well, one, I've tried to remember what was on the questionnaire, and then now I'm trying to match the name with the face. So I feel like that feels it is. I care, right? And so that's how I show that I care, is because I'm trying to learn who their most important people are. But not only that, just trying to make sure I keep them calm. So whatever it is that they may be feeling anxious about, I'm just talking them through it. So I've committed myself to making sure that I over communicate to my couples, but without overwhelming them. And then also always telling them what's happening next. Right. So we're here, we're doing this. All right. The next thing is, so that they know and they're not wondering, okay, what do we do now? Just so over communicating, showing that I care. If they're in the middle of photos, just making sure they look amazing. If they need to adjust the bow tie or fix a curl or adjust the dress or whatever it is, it just shows that I care. I want to make sure that I do that for them.
We're going to talk about gear in a minute because I'm sure you've got some awesome gear tips.
Oh.
But one last question on the big day and the engagement itself. The day is over. They've gone off on honeymoon. How do you throw in an extra something, something? Like, how do you sprinkle in an extra touch? Do you send them a card? Do you send them an email? Is there anything special that you do between the big day and maybe delivery?
Yeah. There are a couple of things that I do. One of the things that I do right after the wedding now, because so many of my clients are social media driven, is making sure they have sneak peeks of their professional images within a day or two of the wedding. So I just, go through, pull some images, edit those, and then make sure they have those. So when they want to post, and it usually surprises them while they're on their honeymoon. So that's one of the things I do right after the wedding. The second thing that I do when I deliver their gallery is I always add a print credit into their gallery. So it's allowing them to order prints. Usually that's more of like the family or the parents love that. So that's kind of like a perk or a thank you for them. Okay, here you go. You can order whatever prints you like for free. Use this credit and get those delivered straight to your home. And then later on in the year, the reminder that I send around the holidays are usually to close out the year and to wish them a happy new year. It's just an end of the year gift that I'll mail to their homes.
Those are great ideas. I love the instant print credit, which is really cool. And I can definitely see someone on their honeymoon. Oh, look, honey, our pictures are in. Ah, Terry's the best. Okay, let's talk specifically about gear. You're standing in front of your gear mountain. You're seeing all your stuff here. I want to know that piece of gear changed my life, or this cart, or this backpack, or this battery, or this whatever. What are some of the real heroes of your gear that someone might be doing it the hard way because they didn't know that that thing existed? Does anything come to mind?
Gosh, as far as coming to mind that photographers may not be using, I don't think so. I use, I realized because I shoot with, because I take photos with two cameras so that I'm not having to stop and switch lenses, my hold fast straps. So I wear the straps. So it's so funny because the wedding guests, they always compliment my straps because I'm basically like, it's like a slinger or whatever. And so, you know, when I'm going from one camera to the next, I think that has helped me to not drop and damage equipment, because I've done that before, because they're on me, and then I can, you know, as long as they're in tight, I can let them go and not have to worry about dropping anything. So that helps me, and I'm not always having to have something in my hand. They're just by my sides. And then honestly, the biggest thing, and it's not a gear thing, it's just having clean equipment, like clean lenses. So my lens cloth, I guess, making sure anytime I put a lens on, I clean it before I put it on, because there is nothing worse than to get to your photos and start editing, and there's like a hair or a piece of dust on every single image. I kid you not. A lens cloth, a lens cloth is maybe not even $1, but it will save you hours of work in post-production if you are shooting or if you're taking photos with clean equipment.
If you've got a wedding on Saturday, how many days ahead of time are you starting the loadout, charging your batteries, getting your extra camera, cleaning, whatever it might be? Is that a multi-day process? Is that a one day ahead because you've been doing it for so long? What does your prep look like?
Sure. My prep is usually the day before. So I charge all of my equipment the day before the wedding. Make sure I have clean cards on the wedding day, fully charged batteries, and then I clean my equipment the night before as well. Yeah. And pack my bag. I want to make sure that I don't usually load my car, but I usually have everything by my door just to make sure I have everything, because the last thing I would want is to be rushing out of the door and forget something that I need, because that's never happened. And then obviously like a full tank of gas. I usually gas up my car the night before as well.
Yeah. Super Bowl the next day, got to go.
Yeah.
You mentioned second shooters. How do you manage a second shooter, and how do you make sure that they are getting what they need, because you're kind of counting on them for X, Y, and Z? Absolutely.
So my second shooters, gosh, I have some stories to tell there, but you learn from experience. So my second shooters are usually, for the past few wedding seasons, are photographers that I've worked with year after year after year. And so we've gotten to the point where we think alike, or they can read my mind. And so that's what I love, right? So that doesn't happen instantaneously, right? You have to build up to that. And so when I think about the first time, my second shooter that's been working with me for about 8 years now, when I think about the very first wedding that we photographed together, we met, we had a call, and I probably just trauma dumped on her all of my bad experiences. of all the bad second shooter experiences that I've had. And then I talked to her about what I need her to capture, how I tend to think. If I'm in the zone, I tend to just be focused, and that doesn't mean that she can't interrupt me. It just means I'm just kind of like thinking through everything, because there is a lot to manage on a wedding day, and there's a lot to think about. And I'm always thinking about, okay, what's next? What's next? So just over communicating early on, and then on the wedding day, we work through the day. And if something happens that may not have gone the way that I want, I am never the person that would try and correct someone in the moment. We talk after, like after the wedding day, and say, hey, next time, can you do this, or can we not do this? So they know the next time, what I'm looking for as well, in case I didn't communicate that early on.
We talked about second shooters. What about involuntary third shooters? Say a family member that's standing in the aisle, or someone that's using flash, or whatever it might be. With your experience, how do you gracefully say, hey, Uncle Joe, you're in the shot? How do you go about that?
I say that, hey, you're in my shot. So, usually, so with my couples, I do have a clause in my contract that says, I will not be liable for guest interference. And so I have my couples that hire me are just they're so amazing. So it's pretty standard now for their officiant to make an announcement. So before the wedding ceremony, for that is unplugged. So I'll either see a sign that says it's unplugged ceremony, or the officiant will make an announcement before the processional starts that it is unplugged, or they may ask, like recently, that guests not lean into the aisle. So the main thing is obviously camera phones. They've made a lot of advancements. However, they date your photos, right? So if you're looking back at your photos 5 or 10 years from now, and you see, whatever iPhone model is current at the time is no longer current like years from now, right? And so I told them, if your guests use phones, that's totally at your discretion. I can't be liable, though, what happens when they use the phone if they're not given any direction. So that's where my couples will step in and offer up, the unplugged ceremony option. And then their guests are pretty good about respecting them in doing so. Now, if that announcement is not made, and I get the involuntary third or fourth or fifth photographer, I'll just let them know, hey, I am, I'll introduce myself and make sure they know, like, I'm the photographer, and I'm not afraid to speak up. And then I'll ask them if they could step out of the way or not, not block any of my shots. So sometimes, usually one time with an introduction is okay, but then sometimes they have to be reminded very nicely. And
very
again
nicely.
and again.
With a smile.
As nice as I can. And then at some point, if it surprisingly, as busy as a wedding day is for a couple, they're still aware of what's happening around them. So usually I've had cases where they're stepping in, telling that person to move. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's the trump card. If you got to pull out the bride on them, then they're in trouble.
If the bride is fussing, then I know, like,
yeah. I win. Ha ha.
Without having to be the bad guy once again.
That's right. A million years ago, there was a photographer, then there was someone shooting video, and now there's an entire wedding machine around the big day. So what are some best practices for the photographer to participate in this ecosystem of providers that are happening on a wedding day?
Oh my gosh. It's so, I have a photo. It's so funny. I have a photo. I will probably never share it publicly, but I have a photo from a wedding a few years ago where so content creation is now a thing, right? It's a whole industry where there are people capturing the BTS and all of the photo. I mean, all of the video through their phones as content creation. And there was one particular wedding where every vendor had their own content creator. And so I stepped back during one point in the wedding and caught a photo of all of these content creators and extra people. Because I was in disbelief at how many people it was, right? So it's normally, my second photographer and I, so there's two photographers. And if there's a video team, there's normally two videographers. I've seen more. And so we already know that there's at least four people there trying to capture the day. And so as you introduce more and more people, it's just a matter of setting expectations with them, trying to understand what it is that they're trying to capture, but then also setting expectations. And so some of the wedding professionals that I've worked with, I've built relationships with, so they know that I am photographing the event for the couple, but I'm also trying to capture photos of their work and things that they've invested their time and energy into, so that they have professional photos as well.
Great idea. That's a killer tip right there. Let's end with this, a free space for your final thoughts. Anything that comes to mind about being a great wedding photographer that someone can learn from you? I'm sure there's a long list, but is there anything that comes to mind right now that we haven't covered?
Oh gosh, I think it's just really important to listen to what the client wants and helping them understand what it takes to get what they want. So educate, communicate, listen, and be joyful, be excited to work with these people, because it's their one day. No matter how many weddings or events or whatever you photograph, it's their one day, and always go into it knowing that it's their one day. So make it the best day that they could possibly have.
What a great way to end it. I love ending with being joyful. Terri, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Professional Photographer Podcast. Now, before you go, do me a favor, leave us a comment and tell us what Terri said that you said, I'm going to steal that, or, wow, I never thought of it that way. Those comments help her and us know what we're sharing and what's connecting. Also, of course, like and subscribe the show. We love it when you do that. Now, if you're not yet a member of Professional Photographers of America, you're truly missing out. PPA offers incredible resources like equipment insurance, top-notch education, and a supportive community of photographers ready to help you succeed. It's perfect for photographers who are serious about growing their business in a sustainable and profitable way. At PPA, you belong here. Discover more about membership at ppa.com. That's ppa.com. I'm Pat Miller, founder of the Small Business Owners Community and the host of the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right here next time. Take care.